This meeting will come to order. Good evening and welcome to the special call board meeting of the Vestavia Hills Board of Education. I'd like to welcome Dr. Charles Mason tonight, who will be serving as our interim superintendent.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to welcome some students that we have visiting with us tonight from the AP Government class at the high school. We always enjoy having students come to our meetings, so welcome. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda, which is on the screen. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes of the August 23rd meeting that have been distributed. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion or corrections to those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll need to approve the minutes of the August 30th meeting that have also been distributed. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion or corrections to those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'll turn it over to Dr. Mason for consent items.
I'd like to recommend that the board approve the following consent items, all of which tonight are for out-of-state or overnight trips.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the out-of-state overnight trips as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Budget.
Yes, I'd like to recommend that the board approve the 2017-2018 budget as submitted. This follows the board having the two required public work sessions on the budget and also giving citizens the opportunity to have written input, which there has been none. So I am recommending adoption of the budget.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the 2017-18 budget as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion on the budget?
Jared would really like to hear it one more time.
Could you do that, Mr. Mayor, for us, please?
I've got a special one for him. It's the whole $498.
If you clear your calendar for that review, Jerry, that'd be great.
It's on my iPhone and I've listened to it 20 times. It's fascinating.
All right, that should do it then. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I would like to thank Greg and his staff and all the others who were a part of that, principal, central office staff, in putting the budget together. It's a huge undertaking, as I'm sure you recognize, and I just appreciate you guys having that ready to go when I walked in the door. The next item is course adoption. This one's a little different in that it's really renaming and renumbering an existing course in the school system. Mike Donaldson explained to me that this is a course that has been in place, but we realized that by renaming and renumbering it, we'd be available for some additional state funding. So it's really not a new course. It's just a change in what we call it to be sure we're maximizing our state funding.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the CTE course adoption as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion about that?
I want Mike to stand up in front of the camera and tell us all about it.
Be glad to.
Okay.
At each middle school, we have course offerings called Unified Arts. That's for sixth graders where they get a sampling of fine arts, and in this case, it's family and consumer science. We have those course numbers as local course codes, and with the local course code, it actually shows that career tech teacher as not being in field. Well, I called the State Department. There was indeed a course code for that same course that was a career tech course code and allowed them to be counted as in field. And this affects the amount of operation and maintenance money we get for career tech. So the schools have agreed that we'll just apply that different course code on there and hopefully get us a little more funding.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next two items are insurance coverage that we obtain through a state entity that gives us the coverage we need at a very reasonable price. I think this is something that's been going on for a long time in the state, so it's time to renew those. So I recommend that we renew both the general liability errors and omission coverage and also the automobile fund participation.
All right, you have heard the...
Greg can certainly answer any questions that you might have about that.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the renewal of the Alabama Trust Fund for Boards of Education General Liability and Errors and Omissions Liability Fund participation and the Automobile Fund participation as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right, do we have any questions about that? Any comments?
Explain.
Well, the coverage is through an entity called the Alabama Trust for Boards of Education. It's not an insurance coverage per se. It is a secured trust that we obtain liability coverage for errors and omissions that covers general liability, sexual harassment, and also errors and omissions coverage. And it does cover board members, the board itself, superintendent, CSFO, and any employees of the board that have been hired through board action. We've had this coverage for the 17 years that I have been here, and it's just an extra layer of protection for the board. There's also coverage through the employee liability trust that's handled through the Department of Alabama Risk Management. That is something the legislature voted a couple of years ago to do for boards of education, and specifically covers employees. On the automobile fund, they have insured our buses for quite a few years. Actually, about 4 years ago, our carrier for bus insurance decided they were not going to insure buses any longer. ATVE offered coverage for us for that, and I think it was last year or the year before we actually put out an RFP for automobile coverage for our maintenance vehicles. ATVE came in with the lowest quote, and at that point we switched our coverage to this.
I'm all for insurance coverage.
So is Mr. Big.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item of business is the interim superintendent's contract. You may remember at our regular August meeting, Mr. Boone and I were given the authority to negotiate a contract with Dr. Mason to serve as our interim superintendent. We have a contract that's acceptable to the board and to Dr. Mason, and I'll ask Mr. Boone to review that for us, please.
Thank you, President Corona. A vacancy occurred on September 1, 2017, when Dr. Sheila Phillips retired as superintendent effective September 1. There are two Alabama statutes that I want to review just very generally that are blended into this contract that was prepared. Whenever a vacancy occurs in the position of superintendent of education, the board may employ an interim superintendent for up to 180 days. The second statute is that when a person retires and participates in the state of Alabama retirement system, that person may come out of retirement and perform duties for another employer that participates in the state retirement system without losing his or her retirement benefits, provided two things happen. One is that if they accept employment, it cannot be permanent and full-time. And secondly, that person may not earn more than $30,000 in a calendar year. As Nancy said, on August the 23rd, You voted to hire Dr. Charles Mason, and you instructed Nancy and myself to negotiate with him and to prepare a contract. We did so. I prepared the contract, and in an abundance of caution, I submitted the contract to the legal department at the state retirement system before I submitted it to Nancy and to Dr. Mason, because we have to be careful. The statute also says that an employer like us better not jeopardize the retirement benefits of somebody that's agreeing to help us. So the contract was approved by the legal department at the state retirement system. We submitted it to Dr. Mason, and he approved it. And I just want to highlight it, if I may. First, it's for a term of exactly 180 days. It started on September 1. It will end February the 27th of 2018. The contract price is $59,625 for those 6 months. This board will pay Dr. Mason over the 4 months remaining in 2017 the sum of $29,625 over 4 payments, and we will pay an additional $30,000 for the first 2 months in 2018. The contract provides that Dr. Mason will be reimbursed for out-of-pocket business expenses. We cannot legally pay him a car allowance, so the contract provides that he will be paid a reimbursement of 53.5 cents per mile. The duties are, he does what superintendents do. And the last thing is, we agreed to...
That can be difficult in this state.
At any rate, I recommend the contract from a legal standpoint, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract as submitted.
So moved.
Need you to state it.
Do what?
You need to state it. I can't state it.
Oh, sorry.
State them.
I motioned that we accept the contract as submitted.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, now, do you have any discussion, any questions you want to ask Mr. Boone about it? Or anything? All right.
I was wondering, why is the number for this year $29,625 as opposed to $30,000?
Because he had earned $375 doing a job for...
Sorry to air your laundry. But I'm sure everyone, I mean, I know Kim Hauser was sitting over there thinking the same thing.
We negotiated well.
Saved ourselves some money.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Boone.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So you get paid this much.
Doing whatever it is he does.
Right. I couldn't ask for a more specific job description.
He is super.
I'd like to recommend some personnel items that are outlined in your agenda.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve employments as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, our last order of business will be to invite public comments. We ask that you please limit your comments to agenda items and that you come to the podium and state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes if possible. Do we have any public comments? All right, there being no further business to come before this board, we stand adjourned.